So here we are in a very dense foliage oriented area. As you can see, the flower or the bed is very dense. On the floor you can see that there is that moss action going on, and there is the foliage, because this area right here that we're in is the starter area. That is why it is so dense, because if we go here, hold on, if I go here and do this free camera thing, you can see that the ground have more than just the texture going on, because there is the texture, there are the normal maps, but also there is actual mesh on top, like the leaves, these small rocks, and this interesting one, which is these small moss weeds and flowers, like mesh that you see here. That is just one, it's either a polygon that is like an octagon or whatever you call it, that have 5 sides, or just a square that have a kind of a cross going on in the middle. It's not just 2 triangles but 4 actually, so you raise the middle vertices to get this hell-shaped thing, and you slap in some transparency on it, and you just paint it all over the place. That gives this kind of dense rich texture look to the ground. So this is very interesting, and I really love how they did it all over this place. Look here, the use of normal maps here, because the texture is very simple, it's painterly. So these normal maps serve as kind of a minor version of these foliage things here, except you don't use geometry, so you kind of cheating with the normal maps, and it's great. The big foliage, like these bushes right here, they use just the normal map thing, where you convert the normals of a sphere into the bush, so it kind of reflects the light like if it was an actual sphere, rather than these cars that intersect with each other in like crisscross motion, which gives a very bad shading. So to avoid that, you convert them or transfer the normals of a sphere into them, so you get this smooth shading going on here. And if it doesn't work that well, which usually it does, you can cheat even more by adding a sphere normal map into the shader. So you plug in a sphere, which is just a circular gradient, and you just plug it into a normal map, and usually that will solve it. If not, there is something wrong with the way that you made them. So here are some ferns, which right here I gotta praise the way that they make it. Like, there is a lot of foliage in here, but at the same time you can see that some of them easily can be recreated or reused, to say the least. Like these stamps with the flower on top, they look like this green one on the side, except they just changed the top of it, like the crown, with this one, the shaped one, which if I look close at it, you can see that it is just 2 3D planes or 2 cars intersecting each other, in addition to the one that have the stamp on it. So you don't have to go detail with the foliage, because you're gonna be painting it all over the place basically. And this one, I think, is the one that they show, and that talk that they have. You can see right here on the screen there are 3 variation, maybe 4. Yeah, because the one on the back doesn't have any extra leaves on top, and the one that we have in front of us, the small one, is still haven't bloomed. But this one that's bloomed, it isn't just the feather looking like leaves or whatever you call them, but there is also those extra 3 ones on top. I will put on the screen the one that's actually used as a reference, or the one from the 3D modeling software that they have. So yeah, the other interesting thing, if you look in the distance right there, you can see that they actually used a very smart thing. If you look at the shading, I think they use the Kawahara effect for the distance fog, because they use a screen space based fog, and on top of it they use some cards, which if you look right there, hold on, if you look right there, that area, you can see like a different yellowish cloud looking thing. Those are clouds textures that they use to add in variation of texture and to make the distance fog look a bit more rich, because using only the distance fog, the screen's space based one, looks like shit. So they actually use those cards to enhance that look. That way you have a bit more richer looking one. In addition to that, you will see that they have these beautiful guard rays going on here, which again adds to the feeling that this is a volumetric space, which it isn't, but it feels like it. Those are obviously fake ones that using also cards, resizable, something that you can do with the blueprints, so you don't have to mess around with the material instance settings. And for the major one, which is actually the one that blew me away, even though it is an obvious one, but if we look around, you can see the shadow on the ground and how it looks. And if we look at the trees, there is shadow and everything. It looks like this is a very dense forest. But in actuality, as you all know, if you have tried game development and so on, you only have just these surrounding trees. As you can see there, you can see the sky. So there are only just 2 layers of trees maximum. And that second tree that's over there on top of his head is probably either a card or a very low poly version of this tree over here. So where does this shadow come from? The answer is pretty clever, because what they use is something like you use for faking the cloud shadow. You put a 3D plane and you put a transparent texture on top of it, and there you go with the fake shadows. You only use a parallel noise or some cloud texture mixed with the Voronoi to get some more complexity into it, but the techniques is the same. You're just using a transparent 3D plane to cast these shadows. But there is even more to it, which is the point that drove me insane. How they use decals actually to drive in these like small shadow pockets that you see over there. They actually use decals to do that. And I tried to replicate this in Unreal Engine. I don't know how to do it, except I used the decals and I added transparency to them. They need to be in a very low transparency, like a 0.1, 0.15, to look like shadow, because if you go about that 0.15, the effect is broken because it looks too black, because you only use the mask and the emission. You don't want it to be affected with the shading or light, and it can't be. So because we're here, it's like doing the 2D or post-processing 2D. It's like something that you do in After Effects, except here, because it is a game, we can use the 3D space. So these decals are used here for those extremely like nooks and crannies shadows to control over. And one other point, problem that you might run into if you try to make these shadows that you see over here, like the ones here below his feet. As you can see, by the way, I think the shadows are animated. You see, they're animated also. So if you want to do it, you need to use a couple of cards with different sizes. The default thing that you can go with and never fail is the big, medium, small one, because you need to add in variation to that texture that you use for the shadow. Also, you can sculpt with it, kind of, because you want to lead the player through the pattern or so on. So you use those different shapes to sculpt in and kind of scale the edges and the way that it dithers into the light. So yeah, I'll try to put in an example that I use in Unreal, just a quick one. And yeah, that's it for this area. Another thing, since I came in here, a great thing to keep in mind if you're trying to make this kind of very dense foresty area is to have different classes for the foliage. As you can see, as I'm standing right here, you can see that these flowers are reaching literally my crouch. So this is the size of them, like the maximum size. The minimum size is like almost the size of my knees. But if you see something like those, the small ones that I shown before, if I can go back. So these small ones, these are almost just the size of my heel, as you can see right here. These are just that small, so they're almost insignificant. They are the same size of this leaf, but they add in too much into the texture and the density of the ground. The same goes with, hold on, these ones right here, these small ones, these small weeds, which are very nice thing to add in into like a grass field to break in that monotonous look of the grass blades, unless you're going for a grass blades like the ones that you see in Breath of the Wild, which there is in another stage, the one with the goblins in the second chapter, I think. But still, having this, when you're going for this kind of painterly looking grass field and foliage, having this variation of weeds and grasses enhances the look of them by adding a lot of diversity. And the diversity is what you're looking for, both in terms of values and hues. That is very adds a very nice variation. So you have these ones that are small. I think they don't reach the knee height. In addition to these ones, where are they? These ones right here. Also, they are similar to those lily pad things that grow next to the rivers. If you played Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, you will see them. But also, these ones are very low and very small. And one additional thing that you can do with these ones is that you can actually just have them as 3D planes that are levitating, because the stamps aren't going to be seen, because this is a game and not something that we can talk about hypothetically. You can see right here that even if I'm standing really next to them, I can see the stamp. And even if I look right here and I see that that's just transparent and floating, you can think of it as the stamp being so small or so thin that you can see it with the naked eye, or like without getting close to it. So yeah, keep that in mind in terms of optimization. That and like replacing the crown of a foliage with some sort of flower, saving the space of the texture to use it for another flower or leaf shape or a unique grass or weed, instead of just creating a new stamp with leaves and so on. So there is something to keep in mind always, because to render all of this all at the same time in this like smooth frame rate, you need to go down to the minutia and try to optimize it, because you won't be able to put all of these flowers, just the ones in front of me, if you have to model each one of the leaves. So that is something that you need to keep always in the back and the front of your mind. This is not a 3D render. This is something that is real time, and it renders per tick. So per second there is 60 frames. So keep that in mind. Optimize everywhere you can. I think that's it for this area. There isn't any other thing that is very unique in here other than looking at the clusters of foliage, like the ones that spawn in here in the corners, or like just if we look at this corner right here and we wonder at the amount of variation that they have put in here. So this is something that I don't know what it is called, or if it's a concept in the first place, but if you look there, those flowers and weed things that are growing in addition to the ferns, what do you call that cluster? That cluster or pile of things. These might be objects, or might be just foliage like this. That is a unique thing that you need to learn, I think, by try and error, to have like aesthetically pleasing, to say the least. I don't know how to put it, but aesthetically pleasing clusters. That is a thing that you need to keep in mind always when you try to do these things that you usually will be putting these in corners, like you see right here. You're just hiding the seams basically. In here, I think they're just blending it with the terrain, or this one with the roots and ivy. I think it is a unique mesh that's blended in with the rock. So yeah, this is also another thing, but we're gonna talk about it when we reach the village. So I think that's it for this area. This area, again, to try and summarize or recap, you have the god rays being just meshes. As you can see, they look beautiful. You don't need the volumatics, because the volumatics take a lot of processing power, and something like this, which is an action RPG game with a lot of combat, and with a lot of combat comes a lot of animation and a lot of visual effects, so you need to prioritize those. So for the volumetric stuff, it's all fake, using screen space based Z buffer, that mist layer, in addition to clouds, in addition to cards that have clouds with transparency on them, and also colors that can be changed to change the volumetric, to change the depth volume. And yeah, the most important one, which is the fake shadows, using directional light as the base. Then you have sculpting the shadows using those shadow cards, and for the fine minute details you use decals. Yeah, because the shoes is very low transparency. For now, I want to do actual tutorials going through these in detail, but I want to finalize everything so I kind of share very valuable and optimized workflows, because for now I don't think that the way that I do it is the right way unless I prove that using a bunch of experiments, which I will be doing in the future. But for now, we're gonna move on to the next area.